Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. Blessed 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence to all of us who are proud to be called residents and citizens of this great nation, the United States of America. Now, I want to make very clear here that we can acknowledge the greatness of this nation while also acknowledging that it is not perfect. And no one is arguing that it is perfect. But by golly, if we take a look at the entire history of human political development and the entire history of human anthropology, we see very clearly that there is a brilliance to what makes this great nation. There really is a brilliance to what makes American exceptionalism. And therefore, what I'd like to suggest is that this generation that we have right now, each generation as that is being raised right now, ought to be completely inculcated in a thoughtful reflection of what it means to celebrate this great. Over the weekend, I was calling it the $50 word of the weekend, the semi-quincentennial. Now, in a lot of ways, the word itself can be a little irksome or annoying because semi-quincentennial means you're celebrating the half of something. And so it's not really a declaration of anything great by itself. But when you realize that semi-quincentennial is highlighting a positive reality, which is 250. This civilization has made it to 250 years. That's saying a lot. It's saying a lot also about the enduring quality of this civilization, that it has the bones to continue for another 250 more. Joining us to talk about this is Lisa Wheeler, founder and president of Carmel Communications. They're a premier PR and marketing agency working at the intersection of faith, entertainment, and culture, representing film, television, talent, media brands globally. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm very glad to be able to speak with you about this. So, what prompted you, what was on your mind as you were writing this? Undoubtedly, one of the first things that comes out is the deep love you have for the United States of America. But also, I get the impression that there's something deeply emotional about this as well.
Well, I mean, it is very emotional. I think one of the things that I really started to think about was my memory of being a 6-year-old little girl and celebrating the bicentennial. So, I have this very strong, vivid memory of the 200th anniversary of our country and the celebration that occurred in that time for me. And it was just pure Americana. There were parades and the fireworks, and everything was about the significance of being the kind of country that America is. And it's so deeply rooted in my spirit that as we were approaching this 250th year, those memories came flooding back to me, and I was able to pinpoint that my deep love for America really began in that year, in that moment of celebration of our 200th anniversary. And so I was thinking about that and the 6-year-olds and the young people of today that are having this incredible experience of witnessing all across the country this great celebration and love of America that we're experiencing. And so I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts, at that time of that, the parallel between me as a 6-year-old and me now as a 56-year-old, but just kind of what sort of tradition that sets in place for the future of our country and for America.
One of the things that you've written here that's so crucial for us to understand is 250 years ago, our founders made a claim unlike any the world has ever seen. They declared that our rights do not come from kings, governments, or majorities. They come from our Creator. Can you share with us the novelty of that claim historically and how that set a trajectory for what the intellectual undergirding and therefore moral and religious undergirding of the United States looked like?
Well, I think that is the thing that is the essence of what separates the United States from so many other countries that have that you've seen the rise and fall of, over the centuries. And, what is the thing that separates us, that sets us apart? And it is that we have this, that each person in our country possesses this inherent dignity that only comes from God. And we recognize that in the very documents that create our country. And there's no other country in the world that acknowledges that. And so, for me, I feel like the future of our country is almost determined by that aspect of our history, in knowing that almost everything that shapes us as a civilization is rooted in this shared belief that all of our rights come from God, that come from from how we were created and who created us.
Share with us about the fact that being called one nation under God means that we, as the American people, have been given this grace from God for liberty, and therefore limited government means we have an obligation to conduct ourselves virtuously as a populace.
Well, in speaking from the experience that I have, because, the work that I do lives at this intersection of faith and culture. Mm-hmm. And so I'm constantly in this tension of being subject to this energy that exists with, artists and filmmakers, and being able to be parts of conversations in which we're able to share what really matters in culture. And because things like culture matter and stories matter and beauty matters, these things shape what a civilization believes, about itself. And I think what I wrote in my article is that, as we celebrate this milestone of America turning 50, I feel like our greatest need is not merely in the political renewal, but it's in the cultural renewal. We are a nation in which, I go back to in my article, the line from Abraham Lincoln. He described, our country as the last best hope on earth. And it's a reminder that America's greatness rests in her willingness to direct and point everything towards virtue, towards justice, towards a moral compass. And, I think that is what is going to continue to sustain America for the next 50 years.
Clearly, even from the language of the article, it's clear that for you, this notion of an American identity is a deeply sentimental one that's also rooted in your faith and in civic patriotism. Do you see that that's true for each subsequent generation as well in the United States right now?
I think we're seeing a renewal of that. I think we're seeing a revival in our young people. Just watching things unfold yesterday on both secular media as well as through, the variety of different faith, media spaces that we have to look at. It was all colored by the energy and exuberance of young people. The Gen Z, the young people that, consider them, in the Gen Z category, they're the ones that are, at these parades and at these fireworks celebrations and in all of the interviews that I saw being conducted there's just this revival happening with young people that I think not only is about patriotism for the country, but it's also about how the country is rooted in these principles around faith. Because not only are the young people energized about being American, but they're energized about their love for God and their love for the virtues that have made America who she is.
I guess as a final consideration, as we round off this segment, our founding fathers laid down not just their reputations, even though undoubtedly they did that. It was also their property, any wealth that they had, and most of all, the very cost of their lives and the lives of their loved ones in the cause of human liberty. In that sense, can you give an exhortation to our listeners to be equally sacrificial for the good that we've received in this nation?
I think we're also seeing examples as models of virtue, what sacrifice looks like. In my article, I referenced two saints.
Lisa, I'm so sorry. The music is hitting. I really appreciated this conversation. Thank you for your time. My guest has been Lisa Wheeler, founder and president of Carmel Communications. She's been walking us through her reflections on America at 250 and echoing Abraham Lincoln's words that this is the last best hope for the world. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.